It is possible to work on a bad self-esteem and lack of self-worth and actually get to a place of self-compassion and even self-love. I used to have very bad sense of self-esteem and even self-hatred. If you truly believe that you are not good enough, that you're not worthy, and maybe you even feel that you are not lovable, it's very painful. In this video, I would like to give you my take on self-worth, self-esteem, how to work with it, and how to actually transform it into self-compassion and self-love. I'm not gonna lie, it's not an easy overnight fix-it type thing. It takes time, a whole lot of courage, and a whole lot of hard work. I am a trained psychotherapist, but mostly I am just Gitte Olesen, Danish, hence the accent. But I continuously walk the path as a human being. I think ultimately we are just human beings following each other home. So this channel is all about personal growth, meaningful life, and everyday happiness. And if you would like to join me for the journey, please throw a like and subscribe. I see a lot of material out there from coaches and the like, talking about, 10 quick ways to better self-esteem. And it's like, talk nicely to yourself, use positive affirmations, stop comparing yourself to others, or even people saying you need to love yourself before you can love others, stuff like that. But how do you actually do that? You can talk nicely to the mirror, you can say all those things to yourself, and if you deep down in your core really don't believe it, how do you actually change that? And that's what I want to tell you about. Even though I grew up with very nice parents who meant very well, it was also the 70s and it was different times, and I did lack self-esteem. I think in my family we were a lot more into having self-confidence. You can do this, you can do that. But the difference between self-esteem and self-confidence is things you do, and self-esteem, self-worth is who you are. And that's why it's very hard not to have a good self-worth, because that means maybe in your foundation you truly believe that you're not worthy, you're not lovable, or you're not good enough as a human being. And that won't change no matter how good you are at doing a lot of things. That's often the coping strategy that we choose, to be very good at whatever is rewarded in our surroundings or in our family. You can be very good at playing the piano, or you can be very people-pleasing, or there's so many different strategies to cope with that we are probably most of the time not aware of. But I grew up having this feeling of an empty space inside, and I didn't really know how to feel it or what it was about. I had a massive crash and burn in my 30s, and I started working with a therapist. And when I eventually came in touch with deep traumatic stuff, like really reaching at the bottom of the barrel, I found some deep shame. Trauma is usually wrapped in guilt and shame. And getting in touch with that shame. Well, the first thing is to become aware of that shame. And then my recommendation would be to get in touch with either a really good therapist, or if you have someone in your life that you trust with your life, if you have someone that you know he or she would always support you and they will never judge you. It's very important. It needs to be a person who will never, ever judge you. Because shame is healed in contact. Shame is healed in contact with another human being who's not judging you. When I went into this and through this process, some deep compassion with myself started to grow. Didn't happen overnight, but it started to grow because I realized that everything that I have said and done in my life, even when I have maybe hurt other people, this is things, back in the days. I did it because I was a child. I did it out of survival. I did it with the intention of coping with something inside myself, So looking at that, realizing that, I felt compassion instead, knowing that I couldn't have done it any other way. So the realization and the compassion started to awaken and turned into self-love eventually. I am a really good person. Can't you see that? I am a really good person. It certainly doesn't mean that I'm perfect and that I don't ever make mistakes or hurt other people or do bad things, but I know that it comes from a place of kindness. I mean really well. I really truly want the best for everybody. So the very thought of you not being good enough is kind of absurd. Where did you get that thought? Okay, I'll give you this picture. If you imagine like 50 newborn, beautiful, very different looking babies, pure, new, innocent, wonderful human beings as babies coming into this world. And then imagine that you go through all those babies and you have to kind of sort out which ones are good enough, which ones are worthy. The thought of it is absurd, isn't it? We are all born wonderful. We're all born wonderful. We're all born innocent. And then we start the heroic journey of life. And things happen. We have to grow into be human beings and learn how to navigate and live our lives. And sometimes we get hurt ourselves. Some skills in navigating life, some skills in communicating, we don't learn. And the caregivers in our immediate surroundings when we are newborn and when we are children, it's their responsibility to build us up and to teach us self-worth and to show us that we are worthy and we are lovable and to see our whole being. And for their own reasons, they're not all able to do the best job at that. And that leaves us with some holes. It's about healing. It's about healing the wounds. Once you start healing the wounds and the stuff, the shame, the icky stuff that is buried deep in the bottom of the barrel, that will be the transformation. That's how you have a possibility of transforming the lack of self-worth, even self-hatred, into self-compassion and self-love. But it's very important, I believe, to have someone to hold your hand on the journey, to have someone to look you in the eyes and not judge you when you share all the stuff you feel ashamed about. And maybe you don't even have access to it immediately, because painful stuff like that, all the dark spots in our lives, we tend to make shields of denial on top of it, and it becomes shadow. It becomes blind spots. That's how it was for me. I didn't even know that it existed inside me. So that was deep work, shadow work. But I think it is worth every drop of blood, every tear shed, every coin spent, all the hard work, because it unfolds and reveals the diamonds inside, your beauty. It gives you kind of a foundation of solid integrity and peace. And that is a very good place to start off when you walk out in life as an adult, where you are actually able to do something about it. It is possible. And I'm not saying that all the stuff about positive affirmations and, changing behavioral belief structures and stuff like that. I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but it's a bit like crutches. So it will get you part of the way, and then in my experience, then we start like hitting a wall, and it doesn't really. It's like a coping strategy that might get you through the days, but it's not truly transformational. You're not picking up the weed by the root. And that's my experience. If you want true transformation, you got to pick it up by the root, and you have to go into the next step of rebuilding from another place inside, so you can live from the inside and out. Otherwise, we tend to seek this filling the hole that represents the lack of self-esteem. We want other people to give that to us. And it doesn't really last very long. It's a little bit like a warm shower. And it's nice to hear the good things that our friends can tell us. But if we don't truly believe it, then it's not really lasting. And it's very, very satisfying to be able to fill that hole up from the inside and to live from the inside and out, instead of surviving, I would call it, from the outside and in. Does it make sense? I would appreciate to hear about your experiences. Have you healed a bad self-esteem, or what do you do to kind of cope with it? Please let me know in the comments below if you feel like sharing. I'm very interested in hearing all the stories. Anyway, I'm in my van at my favorite beach in my neighborhood, and today I have brought Fedder, my beautiful cat, and his very good friend, the feisty cousin Ella. She's right here. I will give you a little view of those two. And Ella, the feisty little Ella.